Now, in a recent video, I covered the unfortunate incident which resulted in a random shooting where this particular individual ended the life of an employee at Blackstone. Now, what ended up happening is her life was ended because we had this random shooter who went into their office building. And what's interesting here is how people are reacting to this and other incidents, right? There seems to be a growing issue in society whereby there's social instability and you're not even safe in the office, right? So it's like you got to watch your back even when you're in the office. And I don't just mean a toxic manager or a difficult coworker. I mean simple things like, are you safe when you're walking into the office? Is someone following you? Someone trying to attack you because maybe you work for a major corporation like a Google or a Goldman Sachs and things like that, and someone's got a vendetta against the company, right? And I think recently, we're going to cover it throughout this video, people's different perspectives. I'll give you a simple example now. In America, you have Wall Street. In the UK, we have a of London called Canary Wharf, where all the major banks are. And there have been protesters against migrants because they're taking on so many mass migration and they're living in fancy hotels and people are struggling to make ends meet. Meanwhile, some of these migrants are committing crime and things like that and attacking women. And people are protesting, but they're not protesting in far off parts of London or the UK. They're protesting in the heart of the city, like the same way this is like a protest in Canary Wharf. It's like a major protest in Wall Street, right? And people are really annoyed. And I can imagine a scenario, not that I condone this, where these riots or the protests against migrants could easily spread to some of the banking buildings. They might say, well, these banks are funding these agendas, for kids to bring in millions of foreign illegals who are not having a positive impact on the country, who are creating, high tax and all these things, crowds showing up outside of migrant hotels protesting against them. In the sense of patriotism and nationalism, they could, these bank buildings, even though they got security, and then terrible things could happen, like we saw in the previous video I covered, where a shooter or someone with a knife could go and attack an employee. And this is what I mean, it's becoming less safe in this society, even to do a job. Let's listen to some normal people's perspectives here.
Especially this past week, stabbing at a Walmart in Michigan. 11 people got stabbed at a Walmart in Michigan. I know in New York there was a shooting that happened at the NFL head office or something. I don't know, man. It's just crazy stuff. That got shot at the thing at the NFL headquarters in Manhattan. I think he was a member of Blackstone. I was hoping he was one of the BlackRock guys because they're buying all the houses up. But Blackstone's a different private equity investor thing. I think a cop got shot there. Bad deal. Another one in California and LA where some guy ran over 30 people, his car outside a nightclub, and I guess just a person there who happened to be packing some heat ended up shooting the guy, or they dragged him out of the car or something, but he ran 30 people over outside a nightclub. It's just insane, crazy stuff. I think in Reno, Nevada, outside a casino, there was another shooting or something, 3 people shot or something, and I can't even keep track of it. I can't even stay up on it. I can't even keep track on it and, get all details right because this stuff just happens so often. I'm just so desensitized to it, It's like these things happened. And the thing is, where I'm driving right now is pretty nice. It's low crime, there's all these trees, the road. It's easy to say, well, things are good where I'm at, things are cool where I'm at, it's not happening around me, things are nice where I am, so whatever, that's over there, I'm over here, so who cares? But nah, this, we gotta be watchful and be up on this stuff, and especially just random people going crazy, freaking out,
So all these events, right? All these different incidents, which we're going to cover in a moment. But the point is, firstly, he made a joke, right? That, he has someone's life who's ended in BlackRock because they're not like Blackstone. But Blackstone and BlackRock are doing very similar things. They're pushing all these ESG rules. Oh, you shouldn't be eating meat. You shouldn't be drinking milk because of the environment. You shouldn't catch a flight. Meanwhile, they're taking private jets all across the world. You shouldn't be able to own a house. You'll own nothing and be happy. These are the type of people who are pushing these type of agendas. And have you noticed, like, he was making a joke about it because people really are fed up with these corporations. This is just a normal guy working a normal job, right? So, like I said, I don't condone these particular situations, but I'm telling you, people just don't care. Other thing are self-defense courses. I know something similar happened at an office many years ago when I was working at Goldman Sachs, and I mentioned like Krav Maga or different self-defense courses you can do, martial arts, things like that. I'd have to explain it, but maybe it's me, maybe it's just as a man, if you're this, I always think about these type of things, right? What if someone randomly ran onto the trading floor where I was working at Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, right? How would I deal with that? Would people under the table? Would you run? Because the security for some of these places really isn't that good, right? So you would have instances whereby I could imagine it wouldn't be that difficult for someone to like have a security pass or jump over the barrier to get into the office and quickly go up the escalator and try to get into the trading floor or something, and it felt safe. I'd always think about scenarios of how I would actually deal with that, right? And it's quite difficult because, like I say, the security isn't great. Now, the one thing here is, like I say, there's not just instances like this. We've got real live protests, right next to the banking district. So in London, for example, we have instances where people about the mass migration and illegal migrants who are committing some crime and things like that. So they're protesting. And like I said, they're not protesting in some far off spot in like the countryside somewhere in the middle of nowhere where they've got some migrants coming in. They're protesting next to the billion-dollar banks, right? And I could imagine one of these protests simply spread. They just take a walk 10-15 minutes and they're in front of Morgan Stanley. They're in front of Barclays, HSBC, any big, JP Morgan Stanley are next to each other in Canary Wharf. So they could easily go down and actually create big problems. So the point is that, instability is right outside your office door, and it's just like becoming really for people to deal with this. On top of all the pressure of the economy and social dynamics being dysfunctional, it's like, oh, if you get out the train station to go to work at one of these billion-dollar banks, you're going to be surrounded by angry protesters. This is the type of things that could happen, right? So it's not actually safe. And there's so many other instances that have happened in recent years. There was a woman who was set on fire in the New York City subway. I've worked in New York for around 6 months or so in Midtown, an investment bank there previously, and the subways, and you've got loads of like crazy people. You've got to be careful, but this woman actually was alive during her to work or heading back from work. And this is the type of stuff like you have to deal with just to do your job, and it's pretty crazy. And now, before we continue with Luigi and the way we're reacting to Luigi Mangione, who's the guy who shot the healthcare CEO a few months ago, this guy who is deemed as in a crazy way. Of course, I don't condone what he did, but it's interesting seeing how people are getting more and more frustrated with these instances. Before we go back to this and continue reviewing these scenarios, I think what is the long-term solution? How do you deal with that long-term instability? And the thing is people are too dependent on the corporations, and I know we can't account for all their ethics and their underhanded tactics to buy up all the residential real estate to make your life more with layoffs and things like that, or not even keeping you safe when you're in the office. But the whole thing is you don't want to be the fall guy for this collapsing system. You don't want to be in the office one day and you're dealing with a layoff or there's civil unrest and someone thinks, oh, you're working for the major bank here, and then easily up for attack even though you've done nothing wrong. So the whole thing is about, protecting yourself, stacking, building an exit plan outside the system. Ultimately, that's what the end goal would be. So you're not trapped in a ticking time bomb type of office. So there's a link in the description if you want to speak with me, because it has this instability. You want to be at these top companies, but you also want to have an escape plan over the long term. So as social instability increases, like I say, you're not the fall guy for things going wrong. Let's continue to listen to this example of how people are either celebrating or making fun of CEOs and major corporations having their lives ended. This is the case of the health insurance CEO who got shot by someone called Luigi Mangione. And you can see how funny people find it.
About this online, and I just want to remind everybody, this was a human man. He had a family. Reveling in bloodshed can only lead to more bloodshed. And the spark of God is within all of us. So we shouldn't be celebrating this. This is actually a very scary moment in human history that we should be very aware of. So I just want to unpack. So the first really concerning thing about this is the accessibility. All you really need to do to pull something like this off is $400 for the pistol and an e-bike. That's all it takes to become a beloved anti-hero type character for Gen Z forever. So accessible. You can literally Google these people's names and their addresses come up. If I wanted to find Larry Fink's house, I'm picking the name out of a hat here, just calm down. But Larry Fink, for example, you could just Google that and it pops up. What if the GeoGuessr people start teaming up with the assassins? Who knows what'll happen? It's not a funny situation. You can Google the BlackRock headquarters. You can find out where in New York that is. And you could see these people, these executives of whatever corporation you've decided to hate, just walking around with families and mortal bodies and wives and explodable heads and sins. Oh God, the sins that almost beg to be cleansed with fire. I'm making this video because 4 months ago, I made a video called Assassinations Are So Back. This was after Donald Trump got shot. And to some, it seemed like I was advocating for more assassinations and for this exact thing to happen. And I actually specifically said that this exact thing should happen.
I mean, guys are literally just walking around with addresses. I think if oil executives were getting killed, even if it was just 1 in 10,000, people would I should reconsider this oil executive thing. Everybody in power right now is just walking around with a human body, a vulnerable human body.
People don't understand this about my channel. I had a big satire alert over it, okay? You not see the satire alert? So maybe if he was watching that video and he saw the satire alert, maybe he missed the satire alert. That's not my bad. So I'm free of the consequences of the things that I say, okay? The words that exit my mouth, there's no consequences because I said the word satire at some point during that video. What kind of sick, dysgenic mutant would do this kind of horrible, oh, he's hot. Okay, so he's hot, all right? That's fine. Lots of women want to fuck him and he's hot. But he also took the life of his fellow man who looks like this. I'm just saying, that's bad physiognomy. And when people with this kind of physiognomy are running things and they're in power, I don't know, it kind of gives you a bad vibe sometimes, doesn't it? It kind of makes you think, why is this guy in power? Why is the beautiful man, the underdog here, and this guy is in power? This right here is the physiognomy of the kind of guy who's going to be investigated for insider trading and shady business deals. I feel specifically like it's important for someone like me to make this video because I know that I have a lot of susceptible members of my audience to this kind of event, and I want to sort of...
So you get the idea, right? So like making fun of these circumstances, people are making jokes about this guy. The CEO who had his life ended by Luigi Mangione, who was shot him in the street of New York. And, again, this CEO was linked to insider trading, not treating their well in terms of health insurance. So there's all sorts of dynamics here. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that people just have off, right? It's not safe for the leaders in this society who are pushing all these ridiculous agendas on people, but it's also not safe for, working at some of these companies. And what he's saying here is very true. I've covered a thing in my previous videos called bio-Leninism. And bio-Leninism is where like ugly people are ruling over smart, strong people. And when you look at a lot of the people in leadership, you can tell from the way you look at them, they come across looking evil, psychopaths, as he's saying, like unattractive and weird, right? And this is what happens when like evil people rule over strong, virtuous, good people, right? It's called bio-Leninism, like Lenin, as like the Lenin from the communist days, and bio-Leninism. Yeah, it's like ugly, evil people are ruling over smart, strong, good people. And you see this all the time. Now, what's actually happened here is, reacted to this guy, right? People actually became of him, right? People read, his background. He seemed like a normal guy. He had some kind of back health issue he couldn't get health insurance for, and he ended up kind of ending that individual's life, the CEO's life, as we can see here. So, he was dealing with a lot of pain. He was fed up with the health insurance companies being parasites and not giving them the health care that he was looking for. And what's interesting here is they've covered this in another article called The Rise of Luigiism, whereby people are actually, of the scenarios that they're dealing with in terms of these major corporations working for them, getting health insurance from them, all these type of instances. Here it says he's yet to stand trial, but he's already been canonized, right? People have already made him some kind of internet hero. There's far influencers praise his good looks. There's merchandise with him. And also women, they're in love with a criminal because women find him attractive. Things like Free Luigi with thousands, tens of thousands of members. $1 million have been raised for his legal costs. People are saying the killing was acceptable. So you see how political the is right now in the world, right? People are really fed up with dealing with the type of people who actually run this system, and they're supporting anyone who's rebelling against it. Here they say Luigi's hatred of institution is intellectually dishonest. Activists are accusing the firm of driving evictions, inflations, rents, and worsening racial equality, right? Companies like Blackstone, who buy up all the residential property. And people are saying, well, actually, you know, this is the case. These companies are good. No one's buying any of the corporate propaganda. You know, this journalist site, I'm sure they could be funded by a major private equity firm. They're going to have the spin on it to make sure these corporations look good when they could be doing quite evil things. So if we look at these other posts here, so we've got Blackstone portraying her as some kind of great person, this woman who was shot dead during the Blackstone shooting by a random lone gunman. They're saying, oh, she was supporting gender equality and looking out for women's issues, and she's a very caring person. But let's look at the jokes people are making, right? On Business Insider, people in the comments are saying, well, nose emoji, whatever that means. And then people are saying, you know, where are the victims? A police officer was shot dead. Why aren't you talking about her? She's buying all the single family homes, with Blackstone buying all the residential homes. People are saying making housing unaffordable. We don't care about her life being ended. It's so brilliant that she's gone. They're good riddance. She's destroyed the lives of millions who can't afford to buy homes. Off with the heads. People are saying laughing emoji, things like that. The point is, people are fed up. They're fed up with this ruling class. They're fed up with the self-righteous posturing. I'm sure she's the type of girl boss, this type of white female liberal who's going to go on about, oh, she did this one trip to Sri Lanka to clear the pollution on the beach of Sri Lanka, who's travel and donate some money to Haiti and things like that. She doesn't actually care about any of these causes. She's just virtue signaling. When Black Lives Matter happens, she'll donate some money there. She doesn't really care or know about the issues. I've had to work with plenty of women like this, these white women who, you know, do all this. They're doing quite evil business practices day to day. And what people are realizing here, as we'll see,
people want to have political solutions. They think we'll make a new law, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll change up some politics, and it'll fix everything. And politicians won't fix this. Politicians will not fix this. Corporations will not fix this. The system will not fix this. The system is what's really causing this. The system, the matrix, the beast is what's causing this stuff to happen. And man, you know, it's where it's like there's like 2 or 3 things just happen in a week. And just, you know, people don't care about it. They're like, oh, another one of those things happened. Whatever, you know.
Why are people crashing out, right? You didn't see as many people crash out as before. And why is this going to become more normalized, right? People shouting in the face of police officers, people doing what Luigi did, which was shooting a CEO right point blank in the middle of New York. Why do we have the other instance whereby the other guy shot the woman working at Blackstone? What's actually going on here? There's no political solution. Realizing the economy needs to be fixed. People can't tolerate the economic inequality anymore. People can't be distracted by Netflix and things like that anymore, video games or whatever else, right? People can't buy houses, have families. They only have low quality food. They have very little to look forward to in their life. So people are not just going to pay for the distractions, like I say, Netflix all the time. People are going to snap and say they've had enough. So if we continue to look here at a different example of this.
Over to Houston, and this is what's happening over in Houston, ladies and gentlemen.
Men dressed in black enter an here they are in League City and rob a jewelry store, then they take off. Anayeli Ruiz joins us live with what she is learning from investigators this evening. Anayeli?
Well, guys, I actually spoke to the owners who are inside of this store. As you can imagine, they're shaken by this ordeal. They did not want to speak on camera, but take a closer look again at the suspects that the League City Police Department is looking for right now. They released these photos of the masked men and veterans.
Now, I was saying this earlier. I'm going to say it right now. I know that there's plenty of people out here that know who this guy is with the Nike jogger hoodie mask from the hospital. You like HEB? Everybody knows there's somebody in the neighborhood, somebody that's watching the news, somebody that's familiar with who this guy is and who his friends are. They had already told you that what they were going to do this before they even did it. Tasha, you are 100% correct. You said that's why there's no stores in our community I wonder why. Well, I could tell you why if you really want to know. Because it's difficult to open up a store in an environment where everybody is looking to steal, kill, and destroy everything that you have. And then they'll sit there and they'll call it a food desert. 100%. 100%. They'll go in, they'll smash it. They got their hoodies on, they got their mask on, but we're not supposed to stereotype them. And we're not supposed to be scared when these guys walk in when they're sledgehammer. They just got a sledgehammer walking around a store of HEB for no reason. They just got crowbars walking around the stores for no reason. At some point, there has to be a level of defense that we can use. And y'all, and I know how y'all think. Oh, man, big box store. Oh man, that's a major store. Oh man, don't worry about them. It ain't worth your life. It's more precious. A criminal's life is more precious than whatever it is that they stole. Says who? Says who? When did a criminal's more important and precious? That's my question that I have for this segment today. When did a criminal's life, that a lot, we say that a criminal's life, or we don't say a life, criminal's life, we just say life, applying it to the criminality part of what it is that people is doing. When did a person's life become more important and more precious than my home, my safety, our tax dollars, the stores, whatever?
I know this last part seems like a different example and it doesn't seem to be necessarily correlated to the others which are related to office, right? But the thing is there's a breakdown of civility, political correctness, particularly after 2020 and the whole George Floyd situation, the police movement. So we have is like a sense of lawlessness. Now I've seen people of different races rob things out of just normal stores in the UK, right? One time at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, there were some people with masks and robbed lots of alcohol from a local supermarket. There was so many actually stealing food, stealing stuff from bakery items, and people all ages and races and demographics, right? Stealing all types of basic items from grocery stores. Now, like I said, there's a breakdown of civility, there's a lack of policing. Police are monitoring what you're saying online for hate speech, but they're not keeping the streets safe, right? And I know this, when I will go to a grocery store, I am a bit careful about what's going on around me, because sometimes you do see crazy people out and about. People lack self-defense, but they have correctness. That's what's happening here. You have no self-defense. Even if you defend yourself, you could be considered the aggressor. And there's political correctness and a useless police force. So you have a complete breakdown of civility. Now, when it comes to dealing with this, of course, we can't prevent everything. You're not going to stop all these. You have to think about how you're building more stability in your life. Like I see Western civilization right now like a sinking ship, like the Titanic going down. And what you're building for yourself on the side is your life raft, right? Your life raft, your escape boat, your lifeboat to give you could be your savings, your investments, your side hustle. Building a career with skills so you can be self-employed, so maybe you don't have to be in these major offices. You can work in a smaller town or work remotely, be a digital nomad, things like these are all things I help with through my coaching, right? Helping you build power, pay, and freedom. So when you're dealing with these very difficult circumstances, right, where things aren't safe, there's social instability, things are expensive, you're not sure what to do in your life, I help give you that guidance you're looking for and give you a step-by-step plan so we can work together to get you there. These quite difficult situations to discuss. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the growing social instability. Do you feel safe in the office? Have there been any instances around your office where you work where things have been quite unstable, people breaking through security and things like that? Let us know in the comments. Link in description to speak with me directly, and 2 recommended videos on your screen right now.